wagering network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Can he be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just
Sometimes
did.
the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
40-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Do you believe Diggs will come up big with Stroud or be the disappointment that he was with Allen in the last, year?
It's not all on Diggs as it was with the Bills. So he only needs to be a secondary piece. Remember now, he's in his 30s, Ferrall. He's in the back nine of his career. They don't need him to be super. They just need him to do a good job.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
First days on the mound, I get it, Joe. But my goodness, 220 on Chicago. Many people consider this still to be the worst team in Major League Baseball. What gives here today?
We could see something out of him in this one. I am not doing that. I would take the Colorado Rockies straight up on that money line out of principle in this one.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. All right, Carver High. I was stunned when I saw Khalil Ware have that big game in the Summer League for the Heat. I mean, he just dominated.
He certainly did. How about 26 points for the Heat in that first Summer League game for him? And look, there's two sides of it, right? If guys do bad, like Moffett was saying this during the break, guys do bad at Summer League doesn't matter. Guys do great at Summer League doesn't matter. Well, why do they play that? It's got to mean something, right? If they're sending the kids out there to improve or see how they are against other competition, it's got to matter. And I think that kid Ware, Scotty, he's going to play a big role for the Heat because you look at how the Heat develop guys. Look at Jaquez last year. They usually give them a pretty big role right out of the gate. So I think that's something to watch once the Heat season gets going too.
And they have bigs. They got Bam, they got Bryant, they got this kid now, and he's a 7-footer. And if they put muscle on him, it'll be interesting to see how. I think Spo's a great developer of talent, without a doubt. Miami's proven that. We saw him play at a high level in the Big Ten at Indiana. He looked bored to death playing with the Hoosiers, but he was a really good player for them. I'm sure he's glad he's out of there and getting paid now. But look, any way you slice it, the Summer League, it's simple. It is true what Mafia said. If you put up big numbers in the Summer League, like Arms did, like Ware did, guys that produce at a high level in Summer League, it's a very good sign that they have the potential to do well in the NBA with minutes. And then if you do nothing in the Summer League, it's really all you need to know that you're going to suck. If you suck at Summer League, you will guaranteed suck in the NBA. And I've always said, like, this is ridiculous to me. This whole thing is so ridiculous, it's not even funny. I told you already, if this were any other team but the Lakers, that kid would be at the end of the bench eating his boogers. He wouldn't get into a game for 1 minute. He's not playing in the NBA on any other team in the league. He's not getting any minutes. But the Lakers are going to make it their mission from God to get this guy burned and to please his father. And that's just all there is to it. The reason why they got him was because of his father. I don't believe for 1 minute Pelinka and Reddick or any of them drafted this kid because of his talent, because he had none in college. I told you before, even at Sierra Canyon, he was like the 5th option. He was never one of the guys that was going to be surefire NBA that was playing at Sierra Canyon when he was there. All you had to do was watch even the doc on that team. He didn't matter. He didn't matter when he was there. And he didn't matter at USC. Now all of a sudden he's going to matter on the Los Angeles Lakers? No, he isn't. That's all there is to it. Yeah. And what I saw the other night was the same thing I've been clamoring about for months. I mean, I'm okay with him going to play in the G League. I think that's where he belongs. And then if that's not a plan, he should have stayed in college and played in the Big Ten with USC, or he should have gone to Duquesne in the A-10 and dominated. I am telling you, at the highest level, it's not happening. It's not happening.
No.
I'm
with you.
He can't shoot. Like all of that warm-up shooting at practice and with his dad and at the combine, they constantly show us videos of this kid knocking down shots. They're always showing us. What's next? They're going to start showing their little sister knocking down shots. Here's the deal. When have you ever seen him knock down shots in a G-damn game? I mean, never. He never hits shots in games. He sucks in games. Honestly, I'll tell you what. Cooper Flagg's 5 times better than him already, and he's not even in the NBA yet. He'll be the number 1 draft pick. Secondly, Dylan Harper is better than him already. Going to Rutgers for 1 year, he'll be the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. Ace Bailey will be the number 3 player taken in the NBA draft next year. He's 5 times better than Bronny James is already, and they're getting ready to play college basketball, all 3 of them. Cooper Flagg, a white boy, you heard me, will humiliate this kid. I've heard that he's the all-world defensive player, this guy. All I hear about is he's a grade A, flat-out stopper. That's what I've heard from J.J. Redick, Rob Pelinka, everyone else, all the guys on ESPN. Whoa, Fatso, they all talk about this guy's a pure defender. Cooper Flagg will dunk on his 6'1" puny ass as sure as I'm sitting here. It'd be like putting Larry Bird up against a newborn baby. That's what it's going to be like. I mean, just so I'm clear, he couldn't stop any of those 3 players right now, not one of them. I have sat and watched Dylan Harper working at 5 in the morning, knocking down 95% of his shots from everywhere. That kid, Bronny James, the hack, he can't shoot. That's all there is to it. And all 3 of those guys will dunk in his face. He's 6'1" for Christ's sakes. He couldn't. I'm 6'8". Can't even stop me.
There are 2 games tonight.
50 pounds of 6'4" FU. I'll back him down. They got 6'3", 6'2" guys on me right now, guarding me that played college basketball. I score on all of them. I'm 6'4". I just go right over you, and I score at will. It's that simple. I'm not no 6'1" dude stopping me doing anything. You heard me. I mean it.
I do not disagree with you on anything that you just said right there. I do not disagree with you on any of it. You could take him to the rack. There's no questions there. There are 2 games tonight. It's an off night with the California Classic, so it's the first night in Salt Lake City. Here we go. Thunder and the Sixers, -5.5. We got numbers here, too. Look at this. -5.5 for the Sixers tonight. The Grizzlies catching 5.5 against the Jazz. Get a little Zach Edey tonight with the Grizzlies, Scotty.
Yeah, I'm on both dogs here because, the Sixers are the most overrated franchise in sports. And then the Jazz just flat out suck to begin with. I can't even believe they're favored. And what is it? Because the games in like Salt Lake, the games in Utah, are the Mormons in on it? Give me both dogs in those games because the Thunder produce winners and great basketball. And then we all know what's going to happen in that second game. No one can stop Zach Edey. That'd be like me Trying to stop him. He's 7'3", 300 pounds. You know what he would do to me? Like a fly on your meal. He'd swat it off and dunk in your face. That's what I do to fools that are 6 foot tall, 6'1". I got no 6 foot nothing stopping me. And I'm 59 years old. And I don't care who you are, 6 foot. Honestly, Mommy is 6'5". No one can stop him when he backs you down with his big fat ass. It's sensible. I'm getting attacked. Oh, God, I just got a bug.
Oh, no. Can't have it.
That's what a 6'1" guy does to me. It's like a fly on my face. Get away from me, you little gnat.
You already talked with Coach about this. Giannis beat Luka on Saturday, and then he led Greece to their first Olympic berth yesterday, so they'll be there. Jose Alvarado led Puerto Rico, 23 points and 6 boards.
I love him. I will
Alvarado.
trade anyone to get my hands on Alvarado playing with the Knicks. Brooklyn born. We need him here. I don't even care if it's with the loser Nets. Alvarado, one of my favorite players. Highly unfortunate that he's down there in that bummy New Orleans.
We'll come back. I'll give you the groups now that they're set for the Olympics, and I'll try to squeeze in a couple of these clips I've got for you. I've got some LeBron. How about Anthony Edwards? He ain't shy about what his role is going to be on Team USA. Just give him the rock, Scotty. Your boy Ant just wants to fill it up.
He's like, I'm the man. Give me the ball.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots and we've talked about it on here that a law was passed to allow the market to open up. And we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150-5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds? Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Want to go through this list again. I really do. It truly is unbelievable. This team: Drew Holiday, Curry, LeBron, Book, Halliburton, Kawhi, Tatum, KD, Embiid, AD, Bam, and Ant. You got your Zags head coach. You got Spo. You got Kerr, Lou, and then of course, upper management of the Team USA basketball. But that team is it's absolutely loaded. You look at that team, just looking at their faces, sitting there for the team picture. I can't fathom them losing a game. Honestly, how do they?
I'm
lose
sorry,
a game?
and I know that you've had
Grant
coach
Hill
over
is the
there
manager, of course,
and I know what coach is saying. Coach, that they could get bad time. They could get picked off in the medal round, and they could do. I know Gabe's talking up Canada, and rightfully so. Canada, a very good team. You look at this roster; it would be embarrassing if they lost the game. I'm sorry, and I know everyone's better. This is not like when the Dream Team won in '92, where they were playing joke squads on the other side. These other teams around the world are vastly improved over what they were 30 years ago. That still doesn't mean they should lose, Scotty. You're talking Hall of Famers up and down that roster, whereas these other teams have one or two. Joker's on Serbia. Giannis is on Greece. Canada's got some good players. That team should not lose a game. I'm sorry. They shouldn't lose a game.
Yeah. So, real quick, I wanted to tell you about Swing for the Fences. It's very important. You can play it once a day. It's huge. You can win daily prizes if you're on BetMGM's app. You got to play. Play as a batter, pick an area of the strike zone, single, double, triple, homer, fly out, and it's free. You have a chance to win great rewards like parlay boost tokens, odds boost tokens, single game parlay boost tokens, bonus spins in eligible casino states, even bonus bets. It's unbelievable. Swing for the Fences like Carver High. All rewards expire in 24 hours. He's been getting a hit every single day since it started, and his rewards have been piling up. And what he does is he uses the boost tokens for his Tater home runs that pay 4-1, and then he boosts it, and then all of a sudden it's like 7-1. And Carver High's over here. He's got, his nickname now, they're starting to call him the Hustler. The nickname. When he walks down the street in the morning, they're like, there goes the Hustler. Look at him.
Yes,
that guy,
I wish,
he bets on golf,
case.
and
I wish
he bets on home runs like no one else. It's the Hustler.
Listen, it's we're waiting for football to come back, and this is how I operate in the off season: dingers and golf. That's it. Just dingers and golf. That's all. That gets me back to football. Those two things. That's how we bridge the gap in the off season, is with those two, and I have a lot of fun with it. Here we go.
You can do
you mentioned
golf
the groups.
year-round, basically. I don't really know when they stop playing golf. It's like for 10 days. It's like a 10-day. That's their off-season.
3 groups for the basketball. The United States is with Serbia, Puerto Rico, and the South Sudan. Okay. Australia, Greece, Canada, and Spain in the first group. France, Germany, Japan, and Brazil in Group B.
Okay, which one are we in? We're in Group C, and all they have to worry about is Serbia, and then I guess like having a hangover, Puerto Rico. They got to deal with Alvarado, but that's it. Alvarado is a great little player. He really is, but he can't do anything against that size and strength and power of that USA team. He'll get knocked into tomorrow.
He certainly will. We already mentioned that Durant's out for the start of camp. He's got a calf strain. Here's LeBron, Scotty, talking about his role. We'll get to what Anthony Edwards thinks is his role in a moment, but here's what LeBron's role is going to be on this very stacked Team USA.
Well, I don't want to say that I'm not a scorer. Just don't categorize me as a scorer. I do everything. I think I'm number 1 in points all time, and I think I'm 4th in assists. So my game is whatever the team calls for, I can be able to provide. If it's a game where I need to score bunches, I can provide that. If it's a game where I need to be in high assist games, I can provide that too. I've always tried to just always have my game ready and prepared for whatever the game or the team needs at that moment. So nothing changes with this team, but it's going to be easier for me. When you're playing with potentially 11 other Hall of Famers. You can really just go out and just let the game just come to you. I can score if I want to, but I can rebound and play point forward or whatever Coach Kerr and his coaching staff need me to do. I can do whatever for this team.
I see few on that staff. I was talking about the Zags coach. They got great coaches, great players. They got LeBron at 39. This guy, honestly, it's just crazy. He hasn't slowed down. He's 39, and there's no one in the world that can stop him. He can score at will on anyone, 6'8", 260. He means business. And he knows he's he's been the greatest player over the last 20 years of anyone in basketball in the world. He has every single record in the NBA he owns, basically. People argue still, is it Michael or is it him? I mean, this guy's got every record known to man. And have you ever seen how much money that Michael Jordan made in his playing career? I know it's a different era. I'm not stupid. But this guy, LeBron, has made so much more money than him, it's embarrassing. Michael Jordan's made all his money with Nike. He's made all his money selling clothes and shoes. He didn't make any money playing basketball at the end of the day. But this guy, LeBron James, he's made enough money playing basketball to buy 5 teams: soccer, basketball teams, hockey teams. He can buy whatever he wants. I mean, and then his production company is everything they're doing in docs and everything else that he's doing, and his clothing line, his shoe line. I have like 10 pairs of his shoes. They're a ripoff, but they're great shoes. But they are a ripoff. They're like $250 for his shoes now. I mean, this guy's raking money like no one. You want to know why he's not leaving Los Angeles? Because that's where the Federal Reserve is, and he's got his name on it. He's got a key to it. He's got the only key to it. He's the guy with all the money. No one can stop him. He'll do whatever he wants in the Olympics. He can score at will, pass, dunk, rebound, block shots, whatever you need.
He does it all, that's for sure, going into it. We'll come back and we'll quickly hear from Anthony Edwards on what his role is going to be with Team USA. And then we'll fly through a couple of other things before you talk to Adam and Scott at the end of the hour.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that a law was passed to allow the market to open up. And we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, Carver High, I know LeBron said that, none of Bronny's stats matter in the Summer League at all. But I'm sure if he would have had 20, he'd be talking about how incredible he was. But he also said today that he thinks that the Lakers can win another title before he retires while he's playing with them. He's predicting that he'll win another title with the Lakers before he retires. this guy, if he plays 2 years with an option for a third, if he plays all 3, would you be surprised? Or would you be inclined to say he's going to play 1 or 2 years or all 3?
If I had to bet, I would bet he only plays 2 more years, if that. I still think there could be a scenario where he only plays 1. Although he's not going to give up that money on the second, so he's in for 2 years. I would be stunned if he played the third. I would also be stunned if the Lakers won a championship in those 2 or 3 years. That would be stunning to me as well.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't believe, in all honesty, that he needs the money. I don't think he cares about that second-year money or third year. I don't think he cares at all. In fact, of the deal he just signed for 104, I don't think he cares about any of that. He's already made over like $600 million just playing, and he's making, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion a year if you combine his clothing, shoes, and his television productions and movies and everything else he's doing. I think he's actually, pulling in more money than God. I don't think he cares about $103, $104 million or the second year of that or the option. I honestly think the only reason he's still playing at all is because of his son. He doesn't need to play in the NBA anymore. He's already played 20 years. He already owns every record. What does he need to do? He's already got 4 rings, MVP. He's got everything. What doesn't he have? Like, I really don't think he cares about that basketball money. He's got more money coming from outside of basketball than in.
I agree. I think a lot of it is just playing with his son right now, that's for sure. All right, you heard LeBron about his role. Anthony Edwards, he was a little bit more direct and to the point when you talk about what he thinks his role is going to be with USA Basketball. We've got a lot of legends on this team. Ant's still young, rising. He says, just give me the rock.
I'm still the number 1 option. Yeah. I mean, y'all might look at it differently. I don't look at it differently.
And how does that manifest? How do you go about it? You just go about it the same way?
Yeah, I just go out there and be myself. Shoot my shots, play defense, and, they got to fit in and play around me. That's how I feel.
Your boy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. He's a great player. He really is phenomenal. There's no getting around it, but he's not the best player on this team. He's not.
No. I agree. And look, I don't know if I'm thinking there's some tongue-in-cheek there with him, or there's just a lot of overconfidence, whatever it is. Because that's just not something that, like you heard LeBron, like, I'll do whatever you want. I'll score, I'll pass, I'll rebound, I'll do this. I'm sure if you listen to Steph Curry, he's going to say the same thing. I'm sure if you listen to Devin Booker and Jrue Holiday and go on and on and on. So I don't know if he's kidding or what he's doing there, but pretty interesting stuff. Cooper Flagg, I just want to tell you this. There's a clip that just came out on social from this afternoon at that scrimmage that they're playing out in Vegas. Your boy's going off. There's a clip of him hitting a 3, coming back down, laying in a layup with an N1. Like, he is taking it to these guys, and he hasn't even played in college yet, and he's hanging with all these guys out at that camp. He's going to be special.
Listen, if he stays healthy this year, I've said it a number of times on Betting Above the Rim and here on C2C, they're going to win the national championship. It's all it takes is one guy that's unstoppable. He's so good that he can take Duke. They're already loaded with talent.
I agree.
But now they got him. And if he doesn't get injured, they're going to play they're going to the Final Four, and I bet they play for a national championship. I hate to say it, but that's how good he is.
I agree. Of course, Dan Hurley and UConn have won the last 2. 6 years, $50 million plus incentives for Dan Hurley through the 29-30 season for him to stay at UConn. That was his contract extension.
I'm sick of hearing about him and stores and his, what he needs, what he's doing, what he wants, and everything. Honestly, like, haven't we been through this enough? Like, we went through this for a month straight, didn't we? Like, so now you're telling me about his new contract? Like, I don't even care. I don't care.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that a law was passed to allow the market to open up, and we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Is our NFL insider. You can follow him on X for free at Kaplan NFL. He's covered the league for almost 30 years. He's been on SportsGrid with me for 5 years. He's undeniable, unequaled by his peers, and he's on Coast to Coast regularly and on the grid regularly. You can catch him all over the place on SportsGrid. Thank God for that. And you can even follow him on the SportsGrid app. So, Adam, why don't we start with the Steeler story coming out of Pittsburgh with Sutton, who's having a bad day.
Yeah, so Cam Sutton, the veteran corner who the Lions cut earlier this offseason due to a off-the-field domestic violence issue. So Sutton signed a 1-year minimum deal. Today he was suspended. The Steelers were notified. He knew it was coming. It's not a secret. It's not 6 games. That's the baseline for domestic violence or a violation of the personal conduct policy. It's 8 games, not weeks. It's actual games. So he could practice with the team in training camp. He actually can play in the preseason. Once the team sets its initial 53-man roster, he goes what's called on the reserve suspended list. So he doesn't count against the roster. They could replace him on the roster. After he serves the 8 games, they would have to make room for him to put him back on the roster. What they'll do, and they made a trade for Dante Jackson. He was acquired in the Deontay Johnson trade with the Panthers. Dante Jackson was expected to start anyway, and Sutton with being the third outside corner. So their depth at the outside corner position is impacted by this situation with Sutton out for 8 games. This is an issue. Look, Corey Trice, by the way, who was the 7th rounder last year. They really like it. He suffered a torn ACL. He's doing well, I'm told. That's a guy to watch in training camp. He's got a real shot, not only to make the team, but to contribute.
I mean, besides Minka and Joey Porter Jr., again, this is their issue. People always say it's their offensive coordinator, it's their offense, they're so boring, this and that. But the reality is it's the back end of their defenses that has been killing them the last couple of years. They can't stop anybody. They got 1 or 2 guys, and that's it. It's not enough.
Yeah, it's the cornerback position. It's been the problem. And Joey Porter Jr. will be a full-time starter now. No question about it. He's their best corner. So that's something to look at. You're right. The teams will spread him out. But Mick is back from his injury. Watt's back from his injury. They're a little bit older on their front, but this is going to be a good defense. But when you try to beat the Steelers, you don't run it, you throw the football. You and I probably would agree on that.
All right, let's do it. We're going to break down the AFC East today. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. All right, so this is for training camp, right? So the Bills, you and I have talked about the Bills this offseason. It's really interesting. So their win total, the over at 9.5 is minus 160. Clearly, the odds makers think that they'll do that. In fact, most people do. That's why the number is what it is. The under, by the way, is plus 130 at 9.5. Now, to win the East, it's plus 165. If you like them, now's the time to get in on them. Now, the offense is going to change a little bit. Joe Brady, the offense coordinator who took over for Ken Dorsey, who was fired during the season, there'll never be a run offense. Let's clear this up because there's too much misinformation out there. But they'll run the ball more than we've been used to with Josh Allen being the quarterback. There's still going to be a spread offense. That's going to happen. They're not the deepest team at wide receiver. The starters there. Keon Coleman, they're excited about, who'll be their ex-receiver. Curtis Samuel, they know him a little bit. They did a lot of work on him. He'll share time with Khalil Shakir at that number 2 spot. Samuel is probably going to play a little bit more. They're not super deep at tight end, but they're deep enough with their 2 guys. Kincaid's the guy to watch. The offensive line's undergone a couple changes, but Ferrall, the issue with the Bills is on defense. I'm not really worried about their offense. I'm worried about their defense. Lack of a pass rush did them in last season. They're going to have 2 new starting safeties, 1 new starting outside corner. They need to get the pass rush back, but Carver High's favorite player, Matt Milano's back at linebacker. And man, did they miss him when he suffered that serious leg injury.
They lost a lot of star players, and their back end is right now a problem. It's a weakness. And at some point, somebody just has to say it. Von Miller was terrible last year. What makes anyone think he's going to be better this year? He looked shot.
And he's 35, which he turned in March, and he was coming back from an ACL injury. He took a pay cut. He's in the twilight of his career. Greg Russo's back. They have to figure out how they're going to get to the quarterback. That is a problem. They're not a big blitz team, by the way. They're a big zone defensive team. It's going to be hard. That's to me. That is why, to me, the Bills should not be the favorite. I know they're the odds makers' favorite and the fans' favorite because people are still loading up on the Bills. But the team we got number 2 here, the Jets, they're the team that I think is going to upset the Bills for this division.
So you're going to take the Jets to win the division, it sounds like what I just heard. And we know for a fact that this team, I've always said, I've been here 25 years. Every year I read the same thing in August. The Jets and the Giants are going to the Super Bowl. Every year the same thing. That, gangrene this, gangrene that, big blue. Oh, God. And they both stink. And all I've heard is that the Jets are going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets are loaded, and the Jets are deep. The Jets stink, and their coach stinks. Their coaching staff stinks. And then their quarterback played for 5 seconds. But now everyone's got him going to the Super Bowl, and you too?
I don't know about Super Bowl, but here's the deal. The over is minus 150 at 9.5, by the way. 9.5 wins is the number. The under is plus 125. And to win the division, it's plus 190. Still, the Bills a small favorite. You mentioned Rodgers. He's back. He looked fine in OTAs. Got to protect him. They redid their offensive line. 2 new starters to tackle. They're older, though. Tyron Smith is their left tackle. You hope he holds up. They spent the first-round pick on an offensive lineman, Fashanu. We'll see how he does. On the right side is, they brought back Morgan Moses. 3 new starters, 2 tackles. So we'll see how that holds up. That does concern me, but the protection will be better. Defensively, they're phenomenal. Possibly, Ferrall. The NFL's best defense. They're terrific on defense. Not great at safety.
Phenomenal.
Great at corner. Great front. And they add Hassan Reddick. If Rodgers plays at least 14 out of 17 games, they are locked to win that division. You heard it here first.
If their defense is so phenomenal, how come they never win?
Quarterback, man. You saw what happened last season. They didn't have a good backup. Now they got Tyrod Taylor, who's a little bit better than what they had.
All right, I've heard it all. I'm gonna hurl. Okay, I'm gonna remember this. I think the Dolphins are gonna be a problem for everyone in this division.
Well, offensively, it's not the problem. They're working on Tua's contract. We'll see if it gets done before training camp starts. Their win total also 9.5. The over's minus 135. So on your point, it's really tight between the other 2 teams and them. The under 9.5 is plus 110. So clearly the odds makers think this thing's going over 9.5. They'll bring back the same offensive personnel. OBJ's in there as their third receiver, where it was a problem last season, so they've upgraded there. 2 new starters on the offensive line, left guard. The big issue for them is new defense coordinator Anthony Weaver and a lot of new personnel on defense, Scott. 5 new starters. That's a concern. That's why they're the number 3 team for me in that division.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it. I think they're going to be a tough team. They made the playoffs. They lose in the playoffs. They got to learn how to win in the playoffs. They always fail when they get to the postseason. And speaking of failing, the Patriots are going to fail miserably.
4.5 win total, over minus 160. The under is plus 130. To win the division, the longest odds of any 30 of the 32 teams, plus 2,500. That tells you all you need to know. New quarterback, Drake May, unlikely to start their first-round pick at the beginning of the season. Eventually, he'll start in the season, but that's why they got Jacoby Brissett. They lack a true number 1 receiver. Defensively, super competitive. They're going to run the same scheme under Gerard Mayo. The defense won't be the problem. They get Christian Gonzalez back, their first-round pick at corner from his injury. Offensively, Scott, they're going to have trouble scoring. They're a 5 to 6 win team for me. Actually, I kind of like the over 4.5, but it is telling when they only have 4.5 win total.
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to see them winning 5 games. I mean, it's not that hard, is it? I think that bet might actually hit. I agree with you there. Adam, great stuff. As we get closer and closer to camps opening up, we'll check you out later in the week. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta, because sure enough, we've heard lots, and we've talked about it on here, that a law was passed to allow the market to open up. And we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
One of our favorite insiders on Coast to Coast and SportsGrid is Scott Miller with the New York Times, a great baseball writer extraordinaire, and he's back again in San Diego talking to us. And Scott, it's good to see you. Hope you had a great 4th of Ferrall holiday. Just real quick, St. Louis is up on the Nats 2-zip in the bottom of the 7th in D.C. The Pirates already beat the Mets 8-2. I want to start with that. So Friday night, I watched something I hadn't seen, I think, in my entire life. I've been going to Pirate games since 1971. And I saw him. My dad took me to the World Series in 71 and in 79 against the Orioles both times. The last time I went to a Pirate playoff game, I think, was in 92. And literally in my entire life, I've been watching the Mets beat the Pirates. I had to go through all those Keith Hernandez teams with Dykstra, Strawberry, Gooden, Howard Johnson, Davey, their manager, just all of it. Davey Johnson. Yeah, like I honestly, they make me sick to my stomach. I hate them dead. And to see the Pirates, honestly, score 14 runs, have 16 hits, hit 7 home runs, and watch Skeens strike out 8, and I think he struck out Bader 3 or 4 times. To watch that all in one night was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. Friday night was the greatest day of my life.
It's Skeens. I saw part of that game. Skeens gave up too early, right? The Pirates spotted them, and then they came back and won. And I mean, it's a new era. I had a feeling, my friend. I am not surprised. I had a feeling, knowing you, knowing your background, I had a feeling Paul Skeens might be the first topic of discussion today.
It should be.
And I don't blame you, brother. The Pirates are, finally there's a reason. I'm not saying they're going to come back and win it all this year, or they're a juggernaut or anything, but there's finally reason to believe, they're on the right path. And, I mean, Paul Skeens is must watch TV every 5 days. And, boy, wouldn't that be fun if he starts the All-Star game?
I think he should, but I would say Sale or Skeens. And, Sale, what he's done in Atlanta is truly remarkable because he was broken down in Boston. I thought he was finished. I think Mad Max has had that problem. DeGrom's had that problem. Certainly, Sale has had it way worse than either one of them. And then to see what he's done in Atlanta is truly remarkable. And he's pitching tonight again. And he's been ferocious. But honestly, Skeens, what he's doing on a 5-day basis, and when he pitches at that ballpark, there's one thing you notice. There's not one empty seat. I mean, they are selling out when that guy pitches, and they haven't sold out Pirate games in decades. Like, no one goes to Pirate games. Like, they average 20 at best. This kid has changed that franchise on its head.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see because, like you, I mean, I'm a Midwesterner. I live in Southern California. I have forever. But I grew up in Michigan. And the reason I bring that up is I've got a soft spot. I always have for the Midwestern teams that have been playing baseball since 1900, like the Pirates in Cincinnati and Detroit. And it's sad to see when franchises with this history go through a losing stretch, and when it looks like economically they cannot compete, and as a result, fans stay away. I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't have to tell you, is a great sports town. The Pirates have such great history. They've got arguably the most beautiful ballpark in the country. Some people might say San Francisco or Camden Yards in Baltimore, whatever. Pittsburgh's one of the best. And when you have that jewel of a ballpark and that history behind you, and you're going through the times the Pirates have gone through and they don't draw, that I agree with you. Skeens and the excitement he's brought to that city, and the fact that fans are starting to come back, especially on the nights he pitches. I mean, it is so cool to see. It's so overdue, and you can't help but root for Pittsburgh, especially on nights like that where the love of baseball has been rekindled there.
How about the Padres getting all those guys in the outfield into the All-Star game, and that Tatis is back without Juice, doing great things. And then I think that kind of race between them and the Diamondbacks is getting really juicy.
Yeah, it is. And, obviously the Diamondbacks coming off that World Series last year appearance. And, they've been hurt this year, among other things, a couple of injuries, but Corbin Carroll, the rookie of the year last year, has just gotten off to such a dreadful start. His batting average down around 210. And, that's one of the reasons that the Diamondbacks haven't been hitting on all cylinders this year. But you also look at it from the Diamondbacks' perspective. I mean, if they get the Corbin Carroll in the second half that they got last year, and there's no reason to believe eventually he shouldn't take off, that's only going to make them, legitimate wild card contenders. And you're right, the Diamondbacks Padres rivalry is probably going to stoke up because the Padres right now, after trading Juan Soto, a lot of people kind of left them for they're cutting costs, they're cutting payroll, they had to trade Juan Soto, but they've been hitting all the right notes. I thought they could be better without Juan Soto because as great as he's been for the Yankees this year, Scott, he was disappointing in San Diego. And even given last year, his numbers in the end were there, but he was unable to lift up the team. But, by trading him, it opened a spot in center field. Jackson Merrill, the rookie, has just been nails, and he was named to the All-Star team. And you're right, the entire Padres outfield makes the All-Star team. They're going to need pitching like everybody else the second half, but they've got a shot.
Yeah, and right now they got the last wild card by 2 games over the said Diamondbacks. So I think that's going to be really interesting the rest of the way. And, it's great to see you, Scott. I'm glad you're doing well. Always love talking baseball with you. I'd talk for hours if I could with you about baseball, but always good to see you. We'll catch up again throughout the summer. We'll see how these races shape up. And enjoy the All-Star game in Dallas at Globe Life. Good to see you, buddy.
You too.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You went to Alberta and came back with a lot of different stories. I know that sports betting as a possibility, just like Ontario in 2022, we could see that.
The other big topic was Alberta because sure enough, we've heard lots and we've talked about it on here that, a law was passed to allow the market to open up. And we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch out for USA and Canada in 4 years. Cricket's going to be a sport that's growing.
I made my first cricket bet last week or over the weekend. I was getting a team that was leading like 150 to 5 plus odds. I'm like, I'm up 150 points and I'm getting plus odds. Where do I sign? I love this cricket stuff. What are you kidding me?
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
It's a combo meal. We start with Carver High's leftovers and then the Ferrall finish. All right, Mike, what do you got?
All right, yeah, a lot of leftovers today. Let's go. We mentioned at the top, hey, because I hit 30 to 1, we'll mention it again. Davis Thompson wins the tractor tournament. The John Deere out at TPC Deer Run, his first ever PGA Tour win. Congratulations to Davis and to me and everyone else. Keith Stewart, who
Only to you. I don't know him. Only to you.
Keegan Bradley will no longer reportedly be named the captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team next year in Bethpage. He is going to be the captain of the Ryder Cup team. Stunning development. Tiger, we thought, was a shoo-in for Bethpage. He declined. Out-of-the-box move here by the PGA, going with somebody, Sky. This has not been done since Arnold Palmer in the 60s and 70s. Having a guy that is still a regular on tour, he's going to be a playing captain. He's going to put himself on the team. This is a nice out-of-the-box move after the embarrassment last year in Italy.
I like his game. I like him, so I don't have a problem with this.
And he's got passion, and he's into it, and he loves the Northeast. I think it's a great move all around. The Penguins and Sidney Crosby are close on a new contract. There's a lot of guys, Scotty, who are up for new deals in the NHL between now and next summer. Crosby, Draisaitl, Rantanen, Marner, Besser, Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand, John Tavares, Claude Giroux, Brent Burns, Shesterkin. Now, I'm sure a majority of them are going to get new long-term deals with their teams, but could a couple slip through the cracks between now and next summer? Very possible. You never know what could happen. Number 1 overall pick, Macklin Celebrini, signs his entry-level deal with San Jose. He will be in the NHL next year. You can bank on that. The Capitals promoted Chris Patrick to general manager. Who? Chris Patrick, the new GM.
Maybe that's Craig Patrick's kid. Maybe.
I would have to
he
look.
ran him.
I am not sure about that. That I don't know. Nate Diaz beat Jorge Masvidal by majority decision. Did you watch any of that boxing match?
I just saw highlights of it.
Shakur Stevenson beats Artem. I am not even going to try that guy's last name. Tomato Can by judge's decision to retain the WBC title. BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting, in talks with Bam Margera, looking to add the ex-Jackass star to the commentary team. We would love that.
Good luck with that. Getting that guy to show up, or to show up straight, or to just even when is he going to screw that up? Like everything else. Like, let's just face facts.
Number 1
My man's got a rap
Swiatek
sheet for screwing things up. Like, let's just face facts. I mean, he's a great guy. I'm sure he's very funny, but honestly,
very funny.
Honestly, they should have hired Mafia.
Number 1 ranked Iga Swiatek upset at Wimbledon in the 3rd round. Emma Navarro stuns Coco Gauff to reach the quarters there. Lewis Hamilton wins the British GP for his first win since 2021. We didn't get to the soccer today, Scotty. Tomorrow, wall-to-wall, Euro and Copa. The semis start tomorrow. We will have the Spain game, of course, up against France, and Canada-Argentina tomorrow night. We will do all that tomorrow on Coast to Coast.
I'm looking forward to that. I also am rooting for Bam to do well with the bare knuckle fighting, because we like the bare knuckle fighting on SportsGrid. So I hope he does well. But the odds are against him. There are stacked odds against him. For Elephant, Vikings 4th round draft pick Kyrie Jackson among 3 killed in a car crash over the weekend. That is awful. John Cena says that WrestleMania in Vegas in 25 will be his last as a ring competitor. He's going to retire from wrestling. Teaser for Brad Pitt's Formula One movie. Did you see the trailer for that movie? That looks badass with Brad Pitt as an F1 driver. Joey Chestnut accepts a challenge to eat 200 boneless wings at B-Dubs. He says he loves their wings. You know he's going to crush that. Texas coast gets smashed by Hurricane Beryl. I mean, there is nothing better than watching hurricanes when they hit land. It's one of the great TV mysteries of the world. I love it. A woman busted after a dead body of reputed ex-lover found wrapped up in the back of a crashed car. I always love when they find the body wrapped up in the trunk of a car. Glamorous crypto queen and $44 billion Ponzi scheme has $5 million bounty placed on her head. She hasn't been seen in 7 years. Carver High and I are going to start looking for her in our spare time when he's not cashing golf and home run tater tickets. We're going to find this chick. We want that $5 million bounty on her head. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnTheBench.com because it's kick-ass. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coast to Coast.
despite having the most wins in both